So we went around the table, and I learned that every country defined youth with different years. And the youngest year was 10, and the oldest was in the Soviet Union, it was 40. And so we had long negotiations, and we finally agreed that youth, as defined by the United Nations, was the age of 15 to 24. 15 to 24. And that definition has been maintained to this very day.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. So finally, the description of a youth now, technically, is, what are the ages now, officially?
15 to 24.
15 to 24.
According to the United Nations, that's a youth.
Rather than 10 and 40.
Only because before that is UNICEF, those were children. UNICEF looks after children, and that goes up to the age of 15.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're still waiting for our moderator, but we're recording. So, Steve, would you like to come and say a few words just before we start? Unofficial, but come and say a few words. Yes? Yes. About your peace education program, the PEP? Sure. Someone sitting there. That's you now.
Hello, Mr. Ambassador.
How are you?
Very well, thanks. And hello to all the honored guests and delegates here. I'm here representing a foundation called TPRF, which stands for the Prem Rawat Foundation. And one of the buzzwords that we use, or slogans that we use, are the three words: food, water, and peace. And the implication of that is that peace is a human need that's as fundamental as food and water. And that's what's often missed as we try to understand and address human needs. We're a foundation that tries to address all three of those things. One of the ways that we address the subject of peace is through a program called the Peace Education Program. And it's educational, but it's an education of the heart. And the program has been successful in many contexts, but one of the most fascinating is in prisons, and working with really some of the toughest hombres you're ever gonna see. And if you can touch the heart of someone that's lived the kind of life that ends them up in sometimes very hardcore prisons, you can probably touch the heart of anyone. This program has been done in prisons from India to South Africa to Argentina to San Antonio and many places in between. I hope we're going to see a very short video, just giving you a little hint of kind of where this program is coming from and what its key messages are. But there's a lot of material that has documented the really amazing impact and effectiveness of this program. I brought a few little brochures if people are interested in learning more about it. For TPRF, in addition to its activities in support of Peace Day and many other activities, this Peace Education Program, which is a year-round effort, is a practical way that we're trying to advance the cause of peace in the world. So thank you, Jean.
Thank you very much.
If I can add a comment, could I add a comment?
Yes, please, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you.
You mentioned food and water and peace. I've been involved with water for 35 years and have many stories to tell about that. But in 1982, I created an NGO called Global Water. So globalwater.org in 1982. And I went to the US Congress and I said, I'd like to interest you in water issues. And they said, oh no, we're only interested in food. And so they turned me down. So I like a combination of food, water, and peace because they all go together.
They certainly do. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, sir. So let's be a little more patient. What time is it now? All right. So I think we lost our moderator. I may have to continue to be your moderator. Can't think of a better one. Thank you, very kind. So, hello, greetings, greetings. Standing by, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you again for your patience. There we go. So does everyone hear properly? Can you hear well? There's a little echo, but when the ambassador speaks, you all can hear him properly? Yes, it's okay. We don't need to have it louder. Thank you. So if you all don't mind, we're going to keep the same order that we had when we did the presentation, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we'll keep you for dessert. So, Mr. Ambassador, really the main thing today is the time slot that we're going to have with the youth envoy, Ahmad Al-Andawi, that's going to arrive in about 5 or 10 minutes. And we have him only for a half an hour. So the way we calculated his precious time, with yours, of course, is at first he will say a few words to the youth. And then we'll go into 5 presentations of 3 minutes each for 15 minutes. And then a conclusion. So in his introduction, we've asked him, of course, to acknowledge the fact that you are here with us today. And he will probably say a few words to that effect to you. And then we're going to keep you for when he leaves for the last half hour for the question and answer period, where people I know will probably ask you to tell us more about the International Day of Peace and the resolution that you brought to the United Nations back in 1981. So that'll be the conclusion of our meeting. Our friends in California are, of course, supporting us. They're listening in, as are many other NGOs that are here today that will not have the opportunity to present themselves. But the fact that they are here speaks volumes. And what we have secured with the Office of the Youth Envoy is a meeting probably tomorrow afternoon at his office, where we are going to be leaving him with all the documentation from all the groups that presented today, as well as the groups that are attending this conference that were not able to present. So this work and all the important work that all these NGOs are doing around Peace Day and around a culture of peace will be left at his office in hard copy for him to respond, and hopefully for him to engage some of these NGOs in his work with youth. This is our goal, our ultimate goal of inviting him here today. So before the youth envoy arrives, Mr. Ambassador, I will leave you the floor for now. I'm sure you have many things to share with our group. And again, we're so thankful that you would join us live from Washington, D.C. And we honor your presence, sir. The floor is yours.
How much time do I have?
You have about 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, let me tell you how the whole International Day of Peace got started. I think that should interest everybody. I was a U.S. diplomat for 40 years. And by the way, I should say, I'm now 93 years old and still working 5 days a week. But in 1981, I was at the General Assembly of the United Nations, where I had worked for many years from the State Department, and then from the International Labor Organization, where I was Deputy Director General for 4 years. But in 1981, I was at the General Assembly in the Delegates Lounge having a cup of coffee when the ambassador from Costa Rica came up to see me. I was by this time an ambassador also. And we sat down and he had a cup of coffee. And suddenly he said, "I want your help." And he said, "My president wants to establish an international year of peace." And I said, "Well, that's a great idea." I said, "The General Assembly of the United Nations a few years ago decided that even numbered years would be conferences and odd numbered years would be special years. So let me look at my calendar." And then I looked and I said, "Uh-oh, the next open, quote, year is 10 years from now." Well, the ambassador said, "My God, my president won't be around by that time." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, that's the way it is." And so he left. He came back a week later and he said, "My president really wants to do something about peace." And so I thought about it for a while. And then I said, "Well, how about an International Day of Peace?" He said, "Oh, that would be fantastic." I said, "Well, I will draft the resolution. I won't tell the State Department because they probably wouldn't like that idea. But I'll give the resolution to you to give to your president, so he has to come up to the United Nations and personally make a speech and propose my draft resolution." And I learned a long time ago, if you want to get things done, you put your ego behind you and let other people take the credit. So I gave the ambassador the resolution. The president came up to the General Assembly from Costa Rica. He made his speech, he presented my resolution, and it was adopted unanimously. So the first International Day of Peace took place in 1982. 1982. The resolution said that the opening day of the General Assembly, which is always the third Thursday of September, would be the International Day of Peace. And that was adopted unanimously, as I said, and that's when it started. But 20 years later, it was decided to name a specific day because the opening day of the General Assembly moved around, and so it was decided September 21, which is the fall equinox, and known around the world for a date, would become the International Day of Peace. And that's how it got launched. And my estimates is that today, September 21, 2015, some 800 million people around the world will be celebrating the International Day of Peace. 800 million. And they're all people like you and like me. They're not governments. Although it is a UN day, it's people who are celebrating. So I decided a few months ago to write another resolution making the International Day of Peace a national holiday in every country of the world. And I gave that to the new Costa Rican president and the new ambassador. And I've urged them to present that to the General Assembly in this session so that if they do that and it's approved, the International Day of Peace, September 21, will become a national holiday in every country of the world. So that's my goal.
Hand of applause, everyone.
But it shows you what an individual can do with an idea. You take an idea and you make it happen and push it, and it can take off. It can take off.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. That's a great inspiration and it's a great story. I'm sure it inspires a lot of the young people here and some of the NGOs that are involved. Mr. Ambassador, if you don't mind, I think we're going to change the scenario a little bit as we go along because of the, we lost our moderator. He probably got lost on his way here. And only because I'm going to be more of a coordinator of this talk, I would like you, when the youth UN envoy arrives, that you say a few words of welcome to him, if you don't mind. So we will let you welcome the youth envoy. We'll let him sit down, say a few words.
Where is he from?
He's arriving any minute now.
I say, what country is he from?
Oh, he's originally from Jordan.
From Jordan?
Correct.
Oh, good.
So as soon as he comes in, I will let him sit down, get comfortable. Then I will give you the floor just for a minute. Say hello to him, greet him. I'm sure he will say a few words because I've sent some information about you. I'm sure he's done his homework about you. And then we will start the questioning period. Is that okay with you, Mr. Ambassador?
It sounds fine.
Thank you again, sir. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you, Kevin. To Mr. Ambassador. Would anyone like to ask the ambassador a question? Yes?
Right. Hi again. My name is Zoe Bloomfield, and I'm with the YMCA. I was just wondering what got you interested in being an ambassador in the first place.
Well, I started out my career as a young lawyer, arriving in Berlin, Germany on January 15, 1947. So I was 8 years in Western Europe, Berlin, Frankfurt, Bonn, finally Paris for the Marshall Plan. And then back to Washington, 4 years and 8 years at least for the Muslim Movement, working in Ankara, Tehran, and Karachi, and then 4 years in Cairo. And then back to Washington, where I became involved in UN economic and social affairs for 8 years. And then I became an international civil servant. I was number 2 at the International Labor Organization in Geneva for 4 years. And then back to Washington, where I was appointed ambassador twice by President Carter and twice by President Reagan, and got involved then and for 6 years in leading U.S. delegations to global UN economic and social conferences. Then I was assigned to the Center for the Study of Foreign Affairs at the Foreign Service Institute. And that's when I became interested in conflict resolution. And the first book I wrote was Conflict Resolution, Track 2 Diplomacy, 1985. And that was track 2 was what people did. Track 1 is government, track 2 are people. And so that's how I've been spending the rest of my life, working with people in conflict situations. That's a long answer to a short question.
Go ahead.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Yeah, it's a wonderful story.
Anyone else have a question? The ambassador?
I can tell you something else. I learned a long time ago that when Americans go into an international conference, they already are prejudged by the people who were there who were not American. An American diplomat is assumed to be the most arrogant person in the world, the poorest listener in the world, and the most impatient person in the world. And I never told that story to a non-American who didn't agree with me. So that's how we're projected as a world superpower. That's how we are perceived today. And I don't like it, and I want to change it. So I tell people.
Thank you so
People-
much. Let me introduce you to our moderator who has just arrived. Philippe, please take your seat. This is Philippe Tousignan, who's originally from Montreal. Oh, I'll take my finger away here. So everybody say hi to Philippe. Hi. So Philippe will be greeting the youth envoy when he arrives. We'll say a few words, and we'll take it from there. The questioning will be going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then conclusion, group picture, and then we continue with our discussion.
Sounds very good.
Thank you, Philippe. You have some water here. You're all set, some mints, and we're all good. So, Philippe, can you introduce yourself to everyone, to Ambassador Donald and to everyone?
First, it's an honor to be amongst you today, especially joined by special guests such as the Ambassador. So, yeah, my name is Philippe Tousignan. I'm the Director of Connection, an NGO based in Montreal.
I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Cool.
All right.
Cannot hear you. The sound is gone.
So I'll use this. Sorry, forget the mic. Pas besoin d'approcher ça. Je te
You will still hear him.
Yes.
From I hear feedback though.
I know.
Okay. So I basically graded you first.
I can hear you now.
It really is some.
T'entends.
Okay. But isn't
C'est ça qu'on a fait tout à l'heure.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was basically saying that it was an honor to be joined by you today and by the whole group here. And it was simply introducing myself, saying my name is Philippe Tousignan and I work at Social Justice Connection, a Montreal-based NGO. I'm in charge of the education program called EduConnection. It grew from basically 12 volunteers a couple of years ago to now more than 250 that are running hundreds of human rights education workshops in Montreal and for basically largely more than 50 other international cooperation organizations. So we're running training before organizations send volunteers abroad for humanitarian missions. So for example, in the last groups that were sent to Africa for Ebola from Doctors Without Borders, then we run some training with them on result-based management, on human rights issues, on poverty, and a lot of global issues. But we focus primarily on global citizenship education, which is basically, in a sense, peace education. And for us, it rests on 3 main pillars: knowledge about self, knowledge about others, and knowledge about systems. You have to very well understand the mechanics of systems if you want to change them. Systems that can be political systems, economic systems, ecosystems. You have to have strong self-esteem and confidence, to be able to work and have a heavy load of work, not be overwhelmed by all the world's problem. And although we can, always find out that personal quirks, I always lack a bit of self-esteem, but it's something we can all work on. And knowledge about other, and it has to pretend to know other, but has to be curious and try to explore if we want to work with others, because we won't be able to solve any problem if we can't work with other people, right? So knowledge about self, others, and systems. So that's the basis of our program. And we basically were able to hire our first few employees 2 weeks ago. So it's a big success for us because it was basically a one-staff NGO for many years, and now we're 3 employees. Probably some more soon.
How's your French? How's your French?
How's your French?
My French? C'est très bien. Sans problème. Parlez-vous un peu français?
Ah oui.
Excellent. Alors, depuis combien d'années pratiquez-vous le français?
You speak beautiful English.
Ah.
Parle là.
We should do the rest of the conference in French.
Oh yeah. It's related to the UN, and the UN works in multiple languages, so maybe we should just go in French from now on. or in Spanish, I guess, right? Would you agree, Steph?
No sound. No sound.
Yes, can you hear us?
Now I can.
Wonderful. So sorry, we're going to call the youth envoy to see why he is delayed. He's on his way. He's getting anywhere close. Thank you again for your patience, Mr. Ambassador. And thank you, everyone, for your patience. Really. Thank you very much. Yes. Let's do that.
Okay, sounds good. Hi again, Ambassador.
Hi.
All right. So as we're waiting our special guest, our second special guest, we could, so we ran this project with Jean basically. We organized the Peace Bus. So we left Montreal and we recruited 40 different people who are all from 16 different nationalities. So we organized basically some sort of an international delegation from Canada. And these are all people who have been selected for being involved in peace-based project, peace education, community or domestic violence reduction strategies on all different levels of peace education or peace building. And that's the group we gathered to come to Montreal today. And I have a colleague sitting at the back. Now she's looking down at her stuff. But she's basically has been reporting on Usaima. We basically have been putting together a series of little clips and videos to document our trip to the United Nations, and all the 40 participants then take part in a special mentorship program over the year to acquire more skills in project management and project building to ensure they have more effective and efficient projects going from now on. So strategy, advocacy strategies in 7 steps of change, right? So we work with them for logic models with different tools that come from management mostly, but we've adapted them for educational purposes. Yes.
Can you speak a little more slowly?
Oh.
It's hard for us back here to understand what you're saying.
Okay. All right. You want me to restart somewhere? Yeah. Where would you like me to start? Okay. So basically, the 40 participants of the Peace Bus that came specifically for the International Day for Peace We recruited them on the basis of their involvement in the community, and they're all part of different universities or different peace building or peace education programs. And along the year, they're taking part into a 2-year mentorship program with project-based or project management toolkits, result-based management toolkits, and a lot of different other workshops. One of the most popular is how to change the world in 7 months. So how do you change the world in part-time? Very popular, very effective. But these are not tools that we necessarily always use ourselves, but we took from the different organizations. Because now we have our special guest.
Everyone, this is the UN Youth Envoy. My mistake. Mr. Ambassador McDonald. This is Ahmad Al-Indawi, the UN Youth Envoy.
An honor to meet you. An honor to meet you.
Ambassador John McDonnell is the person behind the creation of the International Day of Peace in 1981. Wow. So we know how your time is limited, sir. I'll let our moderator take it from here.
Very happy to have with us today. It's a great honor. Would you like us to go ahead?
There will be 5 presenters. They will introduce themselves as they do their presentation. Yes.
So we have a bunch of very interesting people here. So we can start with the first group right here.
Unless you would like to introduce yourself and say a few words. Yes.
It's not like we didn't see you a couple of hours ago.
Hi, my name is Ahmed Hindawi, and I was introduced. I'm like envoy in New York, and I'm sorry for coming a bit late. I think I have a good reason. I confused this with another one, but also I had the very good privilege of spending the lunch with Michael Douglas and Jane Goodall and the Secretary General with this lunch of the Messengers of Peace of the United Nations, which I think is a physical thing.
Yes.
Imagine kind of overdose of inspiration, I must admit, and I just wanted to. It's a great timing for me also to come here and to hear from you. So I look forward to learn about the project and your ideas. A little bit about what I do at the UN as a youth envoy of the United Nations. You know, it's funny because the United Nations, they usually have envoy whenever you have a problem somewhere in the world. So you have envoy for Somalia, envoy for Yemen, even envoy for Ebola, and there's envoy for you. Which is, it can be a problem, but we like to think it's not. It's an opportunity, not a liability for the world. And since 2 years and a half, I have been trying to do my best and ensuring that the United Nations is doing more for young people, and also the issues of youth are very well heard in the different UN processes. So leave it here, back to you.
Thank you very much. First, it's all yours.
Okay. This is just intuition we say for
Just like this. This is the tape.
We're all going to have to introduce yourself
Yes.
pretty much again.
Okay.
All 3 of you. No hope.
Okay. Hi. My name is Mihish Nyanasarian. I'm part of the group from the YMCA Civic Engagement Programs located in New Jersey.
My name is Ellie Smith. I'm also with the YMCA Civic Engagement Programs.
And my name is Carson Kudria, and I'm also with the YMCA.
So we're the youth representatives, and we're the youth participants of the YMCA Civic Engagement Programs, and our programs are really twofold. So the first part of our program is a mock government program called the Youth in Government Program, and the second part of our program is the YMCA Model United Nations Program, which simulates different organs of the United Nations, and my colleagues will explain to you that, or those specific parts specifically. But primarily, we have over 2,100 youth who participate in our programs annually. And these youth participate not only in these mock legislative simulations, but they also have participate in service projects. And over the course of the past 2 years, we've participated in over a dozen service projects, including the Geneva Project, Souls for Souls, and the United Nations' very own Free Rice Initiative.
Every January, about 1,800 high school delegates gather in Pennsylvania for a 3-day Model United Nations conference. There, we model different organs of the UN, like the General Assembly and the Security Council. Delegates representing countries from all around the world debate and write resolutions, trying to find peace and solve some of the world's most pressing problems, while increasing our worldview about different points of view through service to our community and this exciting debate. As Mahisha mentioned, we also have the service aspect of this weekend. We help inspire our delegates who then go on to promote peace and justice around the world.
And in addition to Model UN, YMCA sponsors the New Jersey Youth in Government program, which is kind of a program that emulates New Jersey state government. So participants, they draft bills addressing some of the problems facing New Jersey, and we take them through like a mock legislature, the Senate and the Assembly. We have lobbyists and courts that get involved as well throughout the bill process. And eventually, if a bill makes it to the very end, the youth governor will sign it into action or law. In addition to that, we focus on mainly developing awareness for some of the problems in New Jersey, along with developing the confidence. Because as the moderator mentioned before, self-esteem is very important in combating these world issues. And we hope to, I guess, instill the belief that the youth's ideas are important to the world and we can make change as youth.
And so, kind of in summation, the way these two different parts of the program come together, the same way that we're celebrating the Day of Peace today, our programs celebrate what's called the Days of Service. And every 1 to 2 months, our 2,100 plus participants are invited to go to local food banks, community centers, and organizations that serve the community. And they're encouraged to volunteer there, and they're encouraged to continue volunteering there. And since 2013, we've had over 1,000 youth actively go out on these days of service and help out their communities. And through this process, they've been exposed to the stories and the struggles of those less privileged than us. And not only have I been touched by those stories, but our thousands of participants have also been touched by those stories as well. So service and encouraging service to promote understanding and peace is a very big part of the program. So on behalf of the YMCA Civic Engagement Programs and the YMCA of Burlington and Camden Counties, we thank you very much for your time, Mr. Envoy and Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mahisha.
May I make a comment? May I make a comment about YMCA?
Say that again, Mr. Ambassador.
May I make a comment about YMCA?
Of course, we cannot say no to you.
My mother, who was from New York City, went to Koblenz, Germany after World War I for the YMCA. The YMCA had an office in Koblenz, Germany, which was the seat of the U.S. occupation in 1920. She met my father there, who was from Kentucky, who was a major. They got married, and I was born in Koblenz, Germany because of the YMCA. They're a great institution.
That's enough. That's enough information, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you very much. The next project.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Hannah. And we're from the Big Book Pages for Peace Club based out of Groton, Massachusetts. We started in 2004 with about 10 kids, and it started with an English writing after school club. And it basically just turned into the kids, they realized that they could do something more than just a writing club after school, and they wanted to make a big book. So they researched it and found that the biggest book in the world would be 12 feet tall and 10 feet wide. So right now we have a big book. when we started writing letters to people like the Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Tony Hawk, people like that. And we actually got responses. So we started putting our book together, and it has like all of those letters and artwork and things from just people all over the world. I started the club in 2007, and Rachel started in 2005. The book is, I said, 12 feet tall and 10 feet wide, and has 1,000 pages, double-sided, filled with letters and artwork. And basically the reason we started was everyone just wanted to make a difference.
At this point in time, we have about a couple hundred kids involved, starting in middle school, so about 10 to 11 years old, including approximately 10 of our original members. Most of them are in college or graduating this year. At this point in time, we're getting display technicalities figured out, getting more involved with the UN, specifically Ambassador Chowdhury. We're finishing logistics for display and tour around the world of the book. In the past, we have persevered through times of uncertainty, and we're sticking through to the future, which looks very exciting for us. Besides the actual touring of the book, we're really looking forward to spreading our message more with as many people as we can with the world. We want to share our personal experiences with our project in hopes to inspire other acts of peace and to work towards our greater goal of world peace.
So our goal with the book basically is to instill ideas of peace and conflict resolve into the heads of kids and young adults. Our project, it's more about starting the conversation. It's not really about like preaching to people or like giving people lessons on things. It's about getting people thinking about their own thing. Like they need to think their own way. They can't think my way. They can't think Rachel's way. They can't think your way. They have to think their own way. And if we can change the thinking of the kids of this generation, then they are going to be able to change the thinking of their kids, and they're going to be able to change this world. And our project is aimed at those kids right now that are going to be the leaders and the future of this world. And that's what our project is aiming to do. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shaquille Edwards.
Oh, my name is Alejandro Batres.
And we're with the Possibility Project. And what the Possibility Project is a nonprofit organization that uses musical theater to promote social justice. And what we do is we gather a diverse group of teens around New York City, and we bring them together and we create a musical based on our stories. And what we do, the objective of it is to tell our audience what goes on in the life of a young person. What goes on in the life of a young person, because there's not much representation for young people either in performing arts or in the media. Now, before the Possibility Project, I was one who would judge people and get into fights and do all the things all the cool kids are supposed to do. And in the Possibility Project, what we do, we talk about social issues, and I learned so much things about what goes on in other people's life, maybe the life of a homosexual teenager or a teenager who's been abused or a teenager who's been bullied, and it gave me such perspective on what I was doing, how it affected someone. And what it did was teach me empathy and understanding. And I think that's that's the foundation of peace. Because when you have empathy and you have understanding of someone's situation or anyone that you're having a conflict with, it promotes resolution. It promotes resolution when you understand someone, and it promotes friendship and camaraderie. And that's what I learned from the Possibility Project, besides acting and performing.
What I would say was that before the Possibility Project, I was surrounding myself with a lot of situations that could have probably landed me in jail or even dead. And then there was a lot of times where I just didn't know my place in the world. So after the Possibility Project, I kind of learned compassion. And with that compassion, it kind of freed me from the harm of violence. And like, I was able to learn, you know, I was able to look at other people differently and understand that when I look at another person, they're kind of like a story that needs to be told. They're like a story that needs to be unfolded. So that was kind of like me looking within myself. It was like other people were like a window to my own soul. And from there, I was able to like get away from difficult situations. And I was able to go home with something, like being proud of something that I did. And I felt good being able to go home and tell my mom that I was proud of working hard on this project that, you know, is gonna come out to be great. So.
And those kind of stories aren't just relative to us. That's when everyone that joins the Possibility Project, because within the program, we learn about each other and we share these stories to the audience. And whoever sees our shows, our off-Broadway plays, they go home with a better understanding of what a young person would go through, and they can use that knowledge to how they treat other young people and maybe give a young person a voice that we desperately need in the world. And now that will promote peace when everyone gets a say and everyone gets the opportunity to speak their mind and learn about each other. Because as I said, empathy is the foundation of peace. Thank you.
Well done. It's all yours.
Hi. 45. According to Maiden Free World, 45 is the number of slaves that contributed to all my belongings. I'm just a teenage boy living a pretty simple life. My name is Nick Bongiovanni, and I'm a senior at the Lawrenceville School. I'm here to talk about the issues of modern-day slavery, along with launching my new program, Kids Fight Slavery. So I first witnessed this issue firsthand when I traveled to Bolivia on a spring break trip with my school. There, I met a little boy named Edwin. When I was asking Edwin about his brothers and sisters, he mentioned to me that his parents sold his brother, and he claimed that they were going to give him a better life. But we all knew what that meant. We all knew what that meant. He was joining the 35.8 million slaves worldwide. These slaves, the majority being children, are forced to work long and hard hours every day with little to zero pay. And in fact, many of these children even die because of the conditions. And according to the United States government, trafficking includes all of the criminal conduct involved in forced labor and sex trafficking, essentially the conduct involved in reducing or holding someone in compelled service. And in the United States alone, there are 60,000 slaves. And this is nothing compared to other countries. India alone comprises over 1/3 of the estimated number of slaves. Some other examples are Mexico, where there are 270,000. Philippines, 260,000. In China, where there are 3.2 million slaves. In China, many of these slaves are locked in factories or forced to live on small fishing boats, untangling the nets, risking their own lives. It is imperative to bring awareness to this problem because slavery did not end with the Civil War in the 1860s. It is still very present today. And I'm not very far along in my project as I just started, so I'm here to help launch. And I need everyone's help. You visit my website at kidsfightslavery.org, where you can find an amazing link to over 700 organizations working to fight this problem. Also, I have a link to donate to the Child Rescue Association. The Child Rescue Association is a program that actually goes in and attacks the slave-ridden areas where there are slaves held. They go in working with military groups and actually go and get the slaves out. And they don't just do that. They have a program set up for the slaves after to get them back into society. And they're planning a huge trip to Latin America this upcoming fall and need all of our help. And at least just spread the word. I have a Facebook page where you could like and share to your friends and family at which is Stop Traffic. And together we can truly make slavery a thing of the past. Thank you.
Hello. Well, again, my name is Anaïs. I'm coming from, I said a few hours ago, I came from the paradise. I live in a little town, village, fisherman's village in Mexico. in a state called Guerrero. You surely heard about that state. Is where the 43 students was kidnapped. You heard about that news. It was an international one. So we started 3 years ago, not exactly with this peace committee whose we are sitting here. We is starting to work very closely with the local government. So I have to tell all this story about what I'm doing because it's very involving in kids and all these human rights. We starting to keep the kids from the street. In this little village, we have lights in the streets. So there was a group of kids, then 8 to 14 years old, who's living on the street, but they had homes. So this is about an education case. Sometimes that they had a very hard necessity in all the town, who is really the father has to work all day, so they don't care about their own kids. It's not exactly they don't care, it's just they don't have time because he has to work. So these kids, instead of go to school, they used to go to the streets and play, and they didn't not doing nothing wrong, nothing bad for the other people. They just get fine. They just stayed on the street, and stay on the street is a dangerous one. So in closer with the local government, we started to looking for those kids, and we started to keep out to the street and go back to their homes, and started to realize their education life, and we made it. Now those kids, 12 total, now those kids are living and studying, and they actually participating in this project of short film for peace. So after those 3 years, a year ago, we started formally with this peace committee. And we want to share all the programs possible for our village because we want to spread for all the state. The state is our goal, absolutely, because there is more village. They has to know and has to get this information. They don't really actually believe us that we are gonna come here. They just think that we are kidding about it. But no, this is a reality, and they has to know that. They has to get this information too, for educate about it, and get a perspective of, as our partners of peace said, because it's their perspective. And right now they have their own perspective about it. But maybe after that, after we can share all this, we can give them another perspective about the situations, about the problems, about the solution even. So we're still working forward in this project. And this year, for the celebration of the International Day of Peace, we're working more projects for this Friday, 2025. And we will post on Facebook. We have a Facebook called, that is in Spanish, Comité de Paz Zihuatanejo. And Zihuatanejo is a long word and kind of complicated. I'm gonna write for you. So there is more. We want to involve the youth. We want to involve the kids. And we actually did 2 years ago. And we want to keep this for the next years. I mean, this is when we was in the UN a few years ago, Mrs. Douglas said, the Day of Peace has to be every day. And it is, because we live for the peace. We want peace. So we share peace. We can share peace in any actions what everyone's here are doing right now. So that's our deal. Try to share this kind of peace culture education with these young people, with the kids, who is the more vulnerable, but also he's the smartest. They really can catch up everything, and they just do it. It's like a copy page for day. Yeah, they really can learn quickly and act quickly. So it's a good deal, and even us, like a judge. So in this short film project, what we want is share this culture of peace through the video or photo for all this village. is what we want to start. And we actually started. When you visit this Facebook, you will see like 20 or more videos posting with the young generation of Zihuatanejo who actually sharing how the perspective of this. So we started and we would like to continue and we would like to share to everyone.
Thank you.
And the project is in a small town, and imagine if this project gonna make in all the world, we can make a real change with these videos, so we can almost share to the community.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. Thank you. And so we know how your time is limited, Mr. Envoy, and we have, of course, we would like you to give us a little conclusion before we send you off. We're going to continue with our conference a little longer. Ambassador McDonald's going to stay with us a bit longer. What we also want to present to you, rather than give you all the files of all the presentations here, we've worked out a possibility with your office to come and meet you in person this week. Caitlin is working that out for us. So just a couple of us will come and we'll bring you the 5 presentations that you've heard, but also a few more. There are many NGOs here that did not have a chance to present. And so we'd like to get closer with your office so that we can get you even more involved with the student observance on Peace Day next year, because the youth have to take this meeting and this organization over. So we trust that you will.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thanks and congratulations on all your work.
Sure.
I think there are a couple of words and keywords that said here, and among them passion, compassion, and empathy, solidarity. I disagree, the word is not in a good shape right now. I think, with all the numbers you heard this morning, largest number of displaced people because of conflicts since the Second World War. But also what seemed to be a daunting task, bringing peace, is not that difficult, to be honest. It's something that would require people to live up to the responsibilities we have as governments, as individuals, as organizations. Most of the conflicts today are man-made conflicts. These are, I'm saying man, because men are. See, the world has been showing amazing solidarity when we are hit by natural disaster, for example. But we still have a problem, and we still have some work to do when it comes to solving these problems that are affecting people's life around the world. And there's, again, I mean, the UN every day is providing shelters and food for 60 million people. It's almost a nation. And most of them are affected by conflicts that my men in the first place. Now, remember, like maybe 10 years ago, the UN needed like $4 billion every year to do humanitarian work. This year, the UN needs $20 billion to be able to deliver. And we are falling short with not finding enough resources. $20 billion is a lot of money, right? The world is spending $60 billion on ice cream.
Oh.
We're spending 3 times more on ice cream than what we spend in humanitarian work. And for me, the only hope I see is by getting more young people involved. At a time where extremist speeches are becoming more popular, people are trying to drive the discourse to the extreme. They want to explain compassion and empathy as if they were a sign of weaknesses. We need more young people to come on board and remind the world that we do have enough resources in this world to feed everyone. And we should never forget that we're fellow human beings and one human family. And these are not just nice words. Anyone could be hit by these conflicts. There's no nation, no one is immune against that. Europe itself, like a few decades ago, and it was affected itself by conflicts, and by many Europeans were displaced and left their homes. So I think we need to always remind ourselves that we need to stand solidarity and show passion, compassion, empathy with each other. I think that's why the United Nations is extremely important. Thank you very much for simulating and for bringing people closer to the UN. The UN is a unique project, you know. Do you know for how long human beings existed on this planet? You know for how long we have been here? How many? Millions, thousands. Which is funny actually, because nobody knows that.
That's right.
It depends who you ask. Charles right here. I never ask this question and get an answer, so you are no exception to the word. But let's say thousands of years. Can you believe, like, if human beings, it took them thousands of years to arrive to this very simple notion that we need to create a place where we can send our people and we talk to each other to solve our differences better than sending tanks. It took thousands of years for representatives of all nations, they come together, not only to solve the problems, but also to find ways of seizing opportunities. That's why for me, the UN is not only an organization, it's much more than that. I'm happy that you were there this morning. Because the problem is one of the few buildings in the world where you have 193, 95 nationalities interacting with each other on a daily basis, trying to solve differences, find new solutions for problems. And so some people criticize the UN, saying you are not doing enough. And needless to say, like, of course, it doesn't work perfectly all the time. There have been failures. I think the UN is very mindful of these shortcomings. But imagine this world without United Nations. I don't know, I think they attribute this, say, to Winston Churchill, who said that the UN was not meant to send or to put the word in heaven, but tried to prevent it from going to hell. And I like to think that we can do actually a better job in living up to the 3 pillars of the United Nations: peace and security, human rights, and development. If you think about it, they are all mutually reinforcing. You can't have one and leave the others. So you have to respect the human rights, you need a peaceful foundation, and you need to do development so you'll be able to move forward. But I think I'm really happy to come this afternoon. I know that we'll be meeting later this week. I want to thank you very much for what you do. And I want to tell you that if you believe in the UN, if you believe in the values of peace, if you believe in the Universal Charter of the Human Rights, if you believe Universal Declaration of the Human Rights or the UN Charter, then you don't really have to carry the UN badge to work for these principles. I think with whatever you do, you can always keep it in tandem with the United Nations and with its values, its goals and principles. I think you have demonstrated that, and I have no doubts that you will continue to do so. We need to bring more young people on board. We need to create a global movement for peace. And we need to keep this hashtag Youth for Peace more than just a hashtag. It's a call for urgency. It's the only way forward, to be honest, because numbers, they speak to themselves. The reality is, showing us today that it's only with working with young people we'll be able to solve some of these problems. And I'm your partner in this. So keep it up, and I look forward to working more closely with you. Thank you very much.
So if you have 2 more minutes for a group picture, you don't mind? I think we'll go against the wall over there, everyone, if you want to take place, and we'll let the youth envoy join us there. Thank you again.
Thank you, Ambassador, as well.
Mr. Ambassador,
Yes.
did you hear this?
I certainly did. And I would like to congratulate you on your statement.
Thank you.
And Princess Han is an old friend of mine. You know Prince Hassan?
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's a good friend of mine, so please give him my warm regards. I've been to your country several times, and I've always loved it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
We'll be right back, Mr. Ambassador. We're going to take a quick picture with the envoy,
Okay.
and we'll be right back with you. Thank you so much. Can you take the picture? Sure. Say what?
Okay.
Wouldn't it make more sense there so you can always get distance
I don't even know what you're saying.
for a
I'm sorry.
picture?
No, right there.
Yes. Let me.
So let's go against the wall, everyone, and get as close to the wall as you can. Of course, all the tall people in the back, ladies in the front.
Just a minute. Let me write this down.
Because
You're
we
not
can't
gonna
go
get the
against, we
chairs.
can't go against the light. So everyone, as far as you can, come over here. Wonderful. Everyone, thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's move the camera there a bit to the left. I'm sorry. Move. No, the video camera. Excuse me. Can we move the video camera to the left? Thank you. Michelle, careful. Thank you, Michelle. Move a little bit. Thank you, Sue. This is wonderful. You guys look good. Fromage.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. We left one at your office. We have more. Okay, this is the last few shots because Mr. Alain Daoui is very busy man. Thank you all.
No, wait.
No, that's okay.
Ah,
That's good. That's good.
John, you want to get in there?
nope. Thank you.
Kelly, get in there quick.
Shukran.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shukran. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Let me know
again.
what's going
See you very soon. Hopefully, yes. Thank you again. Yes. Terminé. T'es bon sur le fly. Dis bonjour. Vas-y. Vas-y, Philippe. Okay, take place, everyone. We're going to conclude our meeting with Ambassador McDonald.
Thank you.
And thank you all for your patience again. You've done a great job. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador McDonald.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Julie. You've been so patient, Julie. Thank you.
You have
Thank
time
you,
for another
Julie.
story?
So, Mr. Ambassador,
You have time for another story.
we so have time for another story, sir, and it's all yours.
Have you all heard about something called United Nations Volunteers? Has anybody heard about UNV? No?
Yes.
Yes. Well, let me tell you how that got started. You all know about the U.S. Peace Corps. Well, in 1970, I got a memorandum while I was at the State Department from the White House. It arrived in my inbox, and it said, we want to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the creation of the United Nations. Does anybody have any ideas? Well, I thought about that, and I came up with an idea. So I went to the White House, in the basement of the White House, and I met with a man there, and I told him my idea, and he thought it was great. So I came back to the State Department, and I said, the White House wants me to do the following. They want me to create a program which I call United Nations Volunteers, UNV, United Nations Volunteers. I said it's based on the idea of the Peace Corps, which this was the middle of the Cold War, remember? And Peace Corps was not operating in very many countries, about 25 or 30. But I wanted UN volunteers to operate in every country of the world. And the idea was to bring 3 people to help in other countries to build peace and to help them find jobs, UN volunteers. And so I wrote up a draft resolution and took it to the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, which was 27 countries at that time. And it was chaired by the ambassador from the Soviet Union on that particular session. So I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But I presented my idea of UN volunteers. And immediately on my left, we were seated along the French alphabet, was Cote d'Ivoire. And they said, no, it was not Cote d'Ivoire. It was the Congo-Brazzaville. And Congo-Brazzaville, it turned out, was also an ally of the Soviet Union at that time. And the ambassador from Congo-Brazzaville talked about the terrible things that the Peace Corps had done in his countries. And he said they marched down the middle of the streets with machine guns at the ready to shoot anybody that got in their way. And he went on and on and on. I couldn't believe it. What am I going to do? I thought I couldn't get it. I didn't know what to do. And finally, we were all sitting in a U-shaped table. Opposite me on the other side of the room was the ambassador from Kenya. And I saw him pass a note. It came around the table to me, finally got to me, and it said, "Would you like me to answer for you?" And I nodded vigorously and said, "Absolutely." And he did. And he told a great story about how the Peace Corps was doing such wonderful things in Kenya that everybody loved them and they were doing a great job. And then we went to a vote on my resolution, and the vote was 25 in favor, 2 abstentions, and no negative votes. And the 2 abstentions were the Soviets and the Congo-Brazzaville. And of course, it meant that for the record, it passed unanimously. So that's how UN Volunteers was created. And UN Volunteers is still going today. And they moved their headquarters to Bonn, Germany. But they're now in Bonn, and they have 2,000 people across the world as we speak. So that's a story about UN Volunteers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador McDonald. It was a real pleasure to be with you today. It's always good for young people to talk with other young people who have more experience.
Young in heart, you say.
There you go.
And by the way, I love Montreal. I've been to your country in Montreal several times. It's a beautiful city and a beautiful country.
Are you planning to come back to Montreal eventually?
Inshallah, who knows?
All right. Well, it was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks
a lot.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, last hello or goodbye to Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. We're going to end the meeting now, and we'll stay in touch. Please give your wonderful wife, Christelle, a
Thank
big
you.
hug and a kiss from all of us.
I will
And
indeed.
your assistant, Mia, as well. Thank you, and bless you for all you do.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you again. Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.